Have you ever driven past an old, forgotten village and felt a chill run down your spine? What if I told you some of those places hold secrets so dark they were deliberately wiped off the map? Today, we're not just telling ghost stories, we're uncovering the real, terrifying events that turn thriving communities into modern-day ruins, places where the silence is heavier than any scream. These aren't just abandoned houses, they're tombs filled with untold horror stories. Let's start with a village so isolated, its name is barely a whisper in local folklore. We'll call it Blackwood Creek. In the late 1800s, it was a small, prosperous logging town, completely self-sufficient and cut off from the outside world by dense, unforgiving forests. The people were known for being wary of strangers, a trait that would ultimately seal their doom. It all began with a traveling merchant who fell ill shortly after arriving. The sickness was unlike anything they'd seen. It started with a fever, then delirium, and finally, a terrifying, silent paralysis before death. The villagers, fearing a plague, refused to let anyone leave or enter. They were trapped as the illness spread. Paranoia took root. The village elder claimed it wasn't a disease but a curse, brought by the outsider. Desperate and terrified, they turned on each other. Neighbor accused neighbor of witchcraft, of hiding the sick, of trying to escape. The once peaceful streets became a hunting ground. Diaries recovered decades later describe families barricading themselves in their homes, not from the sickness, but from the madness that had consumed their friends. They wrote of strange figures seen lurking at the edge of the woods at night, drawn by the chaos and despair. The final entries are nearly illegible, filled with frantic scribbles about the smiling men in the trees and a hunger that wasn't human. When a search party finally reached Blackwood Creek months later, they found it utterly deserted. There were no bodies, no signs of a struggle, no graves. It was as if every single resident had simply vanished into thin air. The houses were untouched, tables still set for dinner. The only thing left behind was a chilling silence and a single, cryptic message carved into the church door. The woods have taken them all. To this day, hikers and explorers who venture too close to the area report hearing faint whispers on the wind and seeing shadowy figures moving just beyond the trees. Official records simply state the village was abandoned due to economic decline, but the locals know the truth. Blackwood Creek wasn't abandoned, it was devoured. Now, let's travel across the ocean to a coastal village in Europe, a place we'll call Port Blossom. Known for its breathtaking cliffs and rich fishing grounds, it was a picturesque paradise. But in the spring of 1923, the sea, their source of life, became their source of terror. It started subtly. Fishermen reported strange, melodic sounds coming from the deep on moonless nights, sounds that seemed to lull them into a trance. Then, people started disappearing. A child playing by the shore, a lighthouse keeper on his watch, a young couple taking a midnight stroll. They would be there one moment and gone the next, with only the sound of the tide to mark their absence. The villagers grew frantic. They stopped fishing, forbade their children from going near the water, and boarded up their windows at night. But the disappearances continued. The strange melody from the sea grew louder, and some claimed to see pale humanoid figures with unnervingly long limbs walking on the seabed when the tide was low. A priest who tried to perform an exorcism on the beach was found the next morning, standing waist deep in the water, staring blankly at the horizon, completely unresponsive. He never spoke again. The horror peaked during a storm when massive waves crashed against the cliffs, and the entire village heard a collective, deafening song that seemed to vibrate in their very bones. By morning, half the population was gone. The remaining survivors fled inland, babbling about the singers in the deep and a lure you couldn't resist. They described a hypnotic pull towards the water, a promise of peace and an end to all suffering. They said their loved ones didn't fight. They walked willingly into the waves, smiling. The government cordoned off the area, citing coastal erosion and dangerous tides. But the few who have dared to visit Port Blossom since have all reported the same thing. On quiet nights, If you listen closely, you can still hear a faint, beautiful singing coming from the ocean calling you to come closer. It's a lullaby of the damned, a siren song from a village that was dragged, soul by soul, into the abyss. Finally, we come to a story from the American Midwest, a farming settlement called Harmony Fields, founded on principles of community and shared labor. It was, for a time, a utopia. But their idyllic existence was shattered by a discovery in the fields. While digging a new well, they unearthed a strange, pulsating, black stone covered in geometric patterns that seemed to shift and rearrange themselves. The farmers were mesmerized by it. They brought it to the center of the village, and soon, it became an object of worship. They claimed it spoke to them, offering visions of a perfect harvest and eternal life. The village changed. The people of Harmony Fields stopped tending their crops. They spent all their time gathered around the stone, chanting in a language no one recognized. Travelers passing by reported that the villagers' eyes had taken on a vacant, glassy look, and their faces were fixed in unnerving, serene smiles. They moved in perfect synchronization, as if controlled by a single mind. One day, a postal worker who delivered mail to the area found the village eerily quiet. The fields were overgrown, the homes were empty, but there was a new, disturbing structure in the town square. The villagers had built a towering effigy made of wheat, mud, and their own farming tools, and at its center, embedded like a heart, was the black stone. All around it, laid out in perfect, concentric circles, were the villagers' clothes, folded neatly, as if they had simply evaporated right out of them. Investigators found nothing. No signs of violence, no footprints leading away from the village, nothing. It was another mass disappearance. The official report blamed a religious cult and mass desertion. But what they couldn't explain were the scorched patterns on the ground that perfectly matched the symbols on the stone. The stone itself was taken for study but vanished from a secure government facility a week later. Harmony Fields is now just a ghost on the prairie, a testament to a harvest that wasn't of crops, but of people, a warning that some things are better left buried. These villages, swallowed by madness, the sea, and the stars, are more than just campfire tales. They are chilling reminders that there are dark corners of our world where the unexplained reigns supreme. Which of these stories sends the biggest shiver down your spine? The woods that hunger, the sea that sings, or the stone that promises paradise at a terrible price? Let me know in the comments. If you are captivated by these tales of forgotten horrors and want to explore more places that have been erased from history, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. We have so many more secrets to unearth together. Thanks for watching, and try not to think too much about what might be lurking just outside your own town's limits.